Titans issue 8, Tom Taylor writing with Steven Segovia on the art. So this is our first post Beast World issue, and we're kind of dealing with the fallout of that. The fact that Raven has swapped. It's the dark side of Raven and the good side of Raven's trapped in the gem. And Raven goes to see Daddy Trigon, and he's like, "Why haven't you killed all those pesky Titans friends yet? Like, why are you working with them?" And she's like, "I plan to make them my minions, father." And he's like, "Okay, I agree. I can get on board with that. Good idea."
I saw people complaining that like they only know 4 stories when it comes to the Teen Titans and the Titans, and they always involve Raven and Trigon. And I understand that criticism. However, reading Taylor's take on this about "I'm going to make them my minions, Daddy," there was just a complete vibe that I haven't read in other Raven and Trigon stories that I'm here for.
I get the critique, but I also feel like there's not been a good Titan series in a long time, and I'm kind of okay with a modern, like, big, high quality interpretation of it for the modern day. I'm okay with it, because this isn't Batman v Joker where we're doing it every year.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And again, I understand the critique, but like, as a fan of the Titans, I like the Trigon stuff. I like when Trigon is somewhat in the background, kind of just having his presence felt, and we've had that during Nightwing, right? And the lead into the Titans, like the whole soul, of Blockbuster's daughter, that whole vibe was, and the Kings of Hell and all of that stuff was going on before all of this, and so I feel like this is a continuation of that, and it fits in with where the Titans are post Beast World of, Sergeant Steel trying to spin that they can't be trusted.
There's some things in comics that I am very, very sick of, but this is Trigon, a Trigon story in a Titans book is not one of them as of yet.
Yeah.
So we get Steel, who's the head of the Sovereign, Bureau of Sovereignty, is the thing, and he's debating Nightwing's sister, the mayor of Bloodhaven, on TV about the Titans being a threat and about Beast Boy. And he starts ranting about Beast Boy being this violent animal who no one can trust. And Beast Boy's watching this. Cyborg's trying to convince him not to, but he's like, "Nope, I need to see this." And then Raven comes in, evil Raven comes in, and turns it off with her powers. And is like, "No, none of that." So, I mean, that's the real thing that we're dealing with here, is the Raven and Trigon stuff setting up where we're going there, but it's also dealing with this idea of Beast Boy feeling judged and not knowing like how to fit in again, because they go to deal with this crisis. There's a hurricane or whatever near Florida, and we reveal the new T-Jet, which I actually thought, see, when they revealed the jet, I'm like, but they've got boom tubes, what do they need a jet for? And then the very next page is like, oh no, they're going to still use a boom tube, they're just going to fly the jet through it. I'm like, okay,
they fly the jet through it, and the jet's more of a response vehicle, right? It's there to help the people that they can't boom tube out.
Yeah. So there's them dealing with a crisis, typical stuff. Tempest even gets involved, helping the boats in the water who are affected. So that's a big moment.
So another thing I love about Taylor is he knows how to make it this dramatic moment where these rescue boats are trying to make its way back to Key West, right? And they're fighting through the hurricane, and then they go to brace, but then there's nothing there, and it's flat. And it's Nightwing's narration. And he's like, the fleet will be taken care of. We're not leaving them to face a hurricane alone. We sent a Tempest. And it goes to Gar. It's Garth, right? Because Garth.
Garth, yeah.
Yeah, it's just Garth as captain.
Think Wayne's World. Right, Garth is Tempest.
Right. Garth is Tempest, which makes sense after reading year 1 that he's very awkward. Much like when they leave the camera on Garth. And then this builds from that into like one of the darker moments I've ever felt for Beast Boy, and he turned into a gigantic starfish, and tried to overthrow the world.
This is what I was getting. This is the main point of this issue, is that he goes to save a family who are in a house that's flooding, and he goes to save the kids, and the dad hits him with a bat and tells him to get out. He's a freak, that he doesn't trust them. Get away from my kids. And Beast Boy just sort of lowers his head and says, "Don't worry about it," and leaves all sad. And the art does a decent job here of like showing him sort of being really, he's very there's a lot of shadow in his face as he's sort of like tilting his head down. He's walking down the stairs with his head low. It's all very like you know, like Wally's trying to intervene and like talk to this guy, and the guy's like, no, I've been watching the news. I know you're all trouble. You almost got the world killed, kind of thing. So yeah, which, you know, I think this is doing I think this is good because it's consequences for everything that happened in that event. There's fallout for it. It's not just going to be forgotten about, and I think that makes sense. I think tying it into, you know, the Sergeant Steele and him being this spokesperson against heroes ties in great with what he's doing in Wonder Woman. So good stuff. And it feels like it's probably also seeding slightly stuff for this next event. This, you know, that Absolute Power. It feels like this is going to build to Amanda Waller's next thing, which we know they're all working sort of together on building. So
yeah. Well, I like too that it references the events of Wonder Woman, where, you know, that talks about what they did to the Amazons. Yeah, Melinda brings that up, you know, so it's also playing in an in-world continuity without, like, I feel like you can just get that reference, and I mean, you should be reading Wonder Woman, but if you're not for any reason, you just know this guy was trying to round up Amazons. Like, you know, he has his eyes set on the Titans. You know, there's no line they won't cross.
And then the final part of the issue is Trigon. We're back to Trigon and Raven, and he's like, hey, you've unlocked, you know, access to a new power. You can become this. And it's the Dark Winged Queen, which is the title of this arc. And we just see the shadow of it, or the silhouette of it. And it's like a giant monolithic winged creature. You know, it's just, you know, it's just teased here, but clearly this is going to be something that is, you know, in play by the end of the arc. So yeah. I mean, I like this quite a bit. Obviously, it was definitely not as like big and bombastic as the event issues were. But I think it did a good job of giving us like clear character fallout from the event. Continued this, you know, what Bad Raven's up to. But the Beast Boy stuff, I think, is the heart of it. And then it feels like the world's been affected by I think so many of these big stories where everyone turns into a fish monster, or everyone turns into something, you know, a Bizarro or a parasite. Yeah. It just doesn't get talked about after it ends. This feels like, no, there's consequences to this, where now the world is divided. Do we trust the Titans or not? Are they to blame for this, or did they save us from it? Kind of thing. Right.
And you I kind of understand where that's coming from about get away from my kids, but he's fine with Flash, right? Because Flash didn't turn into a gigantic starfish and turn other people into beasts, you know? So it's not just because it's the Titans, it's Beast Boy specifically.
Well, I don't think he's in love with the idea of Flash helping them either, but he definitely
True.
Beast Boy is being painted as the big threat because he's the one that turned into the starfish.
And also the whole idea that Dark Raven is kind of massaging this of being like, yeah, see, Gar, how they're treating you. So it's almost like he's going to be the first domino to fall, right?
Yeah, it feels like, she's like, this is weakening him so that she can seduce him to her way of thinking, you know?
Right. Which reminds me, did you ever read the John's Titans run back in the day where they end up jumping to the future and they have like I don't think they were called the Dark Titans, but there was a dark version of them, and Raven was kind of like this, where she had the Trigon eyes and everything, but Beastman had become Beast Boy had become Beast Man, and he was a lot more feral and primal, and it's giving me those vibes of this is what happens when these two, you know, give in to their darker sides, and I like that that's being sown through here. As we go, because the one good thing about this Titans book is it's very episodic to some other, you know, to the other things that Taylor's been working on, right? So we get plot threads from Nightwing popping up in here, and Beast World, and I'm trying to think what other. I feel like there's other stuff that it's playing with.
I think for me, what I like about this book is that it always feels like there's kind of an overall game plan. Like everything before Beast World felt like it was setting stuff in Beast World up. Yeah. And now that we're after Beast World, it feels like everything from Beast World is now motivating all these directions for the characters. Right. So it feels really well put together as a run to me. And yeah, so I'm digging it. I think it's. I'm not saying this is the best issue because I don't think that, but I do think that on average it's getting stronger as it goes because it's got more built up to play with and more things to pay off as we keep going.
For sure.
Yeah, and Segovia's art is pretty solid. You know, I like it more than Basri's art in Nightwing this week.
I feel like this is the first time I've seen Segovia do Titans characters. Like that may be true. The stuff with Cyborg and Beast Boy on the couch I thought were really strong because you get a lot of the facial expression stuff.
Yeah.
And it was, that's a side that I really like that's carried over from the show is their relationship of Cyborg and Beast Boy. I've kind of, I think I brought this up on another episode, but I kind of like the Thing and Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four, where they very much care for each other, but there's also a very antagonistic. So when Cyborg's trying to get him to be like, hey man, cheer up, it's fine. Like, let's not watch this. We can literally watch anything. I have Wi-Fi. Like, we can stream anything. I really like that it shows he's going out of the way for his friend. And Segovia's art really sells that too, because they're literally just sitting on the couch.
Yeah,
and
they're all aware of how he must be feeling, and
yes.
they're trying to help. Obviously,
Yes.
Raven, it's coming from a bad faith place, but for the others, it makes sense. Yeah, I think, don't get me wrong, I still think I like Segovia. He's a really solid house style, but obviously it is maybe a bit of a downgrade still from, who we had before. And I think maybe that's just a case of like modern comics where we can't really have one artist do multiple arcs back to back unless we're getting a fill-in. So we've got Segovia. I presume for this arc it'll be Segovia the whole way through.
Because I know Lucas Myers is coming. Like, he's been posting stuff. So, I mean, we liked his work on Beast World. So, we will get there.
He was a nice, pleasant find, if you will.
For sure.
So, yeah. All right, what are you rating Titans?
I'm gonna give this I'll go solid 8.
Yeah, I agree with the 8. I think it's a really solid chapter in an ongoing story and has some good character beats in there. But I wouldn't say I hit the emotional points that I think Nightwing did for me this week to compare them.